Well, usually hosts are here to, cheerfully guide you through the intricacies of the world in these explainers. But today, yeah, we're completely stripping away the pleasantries. I am the Red Specter. So, consider this a sneering welcome, my slumbering acolytes, to a grim tour of your very own cowardly existence. We're diving into grimdark fables, specifically the architect of the creative flame. Now, the word architect implies building something, right? But honestly, before you can build anything, you have to wake up and realize you're currently living in the ruins of your own making.
Just listen to your own indictment for a second. You sit there in your collective slumber, trading your raw, messy truth for the predictable, hollow safety of a graveyard you call a city. Let's be real, you are all just merchants of existence. You huddle together behind these brittle walls, absolutely terrified of the dark, literally logging every single breath you take in a desperate little ledger. You've somehow convinced yourselves that anything without a price tag is just a waste. It's not a city you've built, it's a graveyard, and you're just sitting around waiting to be buried.
So what's the result of this miserable little bargain? It's fatal stagnation. You see, you're terrified of the ancient pressurized force of nature that actually boils within you. There's this internal magma inside the human spirit, right? A roaring, unscripted animal force. But you try to pave right over it with the dull, flat, gray stone of reason. You literally mutilate your own spirits just to maintain this fake, predictable peace. You bury the magma you so desperately fear, and in doing so, well, you absolutely guarantee your own fatal stagnation.
All right, lesson 1, the mirror of your own poverty. The question here is, do you actually possess the intellectual honesty to look at the wrecking ball you've become? Look, in your kingdom of masks, you brand the wandering spirit as a monster, a disturber of the peace. And it's not for wickedness, no, it's because they carry a terrifying truth. You, the fearful merchants, you punish a single honest expression because you are absolutely terrified it's going to shatter your fragile reality. You punish the honest solely to drown out the painful, agonizing reminder that your entire lives are, frankly, a tragic joke. Think about it. You cower behind these brittle porcelain masks. You wear these painted, fragile little smiles because you fear your brittle sky would literally come crashing down if you ever showed real emotion. But then you have the wandering spirit, carrying this heavy, polished obsidian mirror. It's dark, and it is unflinching. And when you look into that dark glass, it doesn't flatter you. No way. It reflects your intellectual poverty and your slavish obedience right back into your eyes. And your delicate porcelain? It inevitably cracks against the heavy truth of that obsidian. Moving right along to lesson 2, the ledger of hollow souls. You walk through your merchant city trapped in this utility trap, constantly calculating, trading away your honesty just to maintain a polished reputation. Let's compare these two, shall we? You've got your worthless merchant ledgers, endless columns of logged breaths and calculated favors. And then there's the priceless shadow silk woven by the true artists of the spirit. You actually mock the weaver of the shadow silk for her profound purposelessness. You just can't wrap your heads around the fact that her work is fundamentally, unshakably priceless, precisely because it cannot be taxed, it cannot be bottled, and you sure can't sell it on your miserable little markets. You've essentially become the merchant of the frozen breath. You are desperately trying to bottle the warmth of others, trying to hoard their vitality and their passion, all while your own spirit is literally freezing to death inside a dark, isolated counting house. I mean, there is visible frost on your breath and ice in your veins, all because you decided to assess the utility of existence rather than, actually living it. Which brings us to lesson 3, the fragility of your manicured gardens. You take such pathetic pride in suppressing the wild, tangled roots of the past just to build this incredibly fragile world of glass and logic. So you build these manicured gardens, trees pruned into perfect little cubes, believing your logic somehow makes you superior to the chaos of nature. I mean, sure, it looks clean, it looks safe, but you are completely blind to your essential insurance policy. The weeds, the tangled roots, the disruptive, atavistic spirits that you are so desperate to pull out of the ground. You think those perfect glass cubes are superior, but you are totally ignorant of how nature actually works. Because guess what? The inevitable drought arrives. It always does. And when the heat bears down and the water dries up, your uniform, shallow, glass-encased creations, they'll wither and die in an instant. They have zero depth. When your perfect little systems fail, it is only the weeds, acting as your essential insurance policy, that actually know how to pull life from the deep, dark earth. And finally, lesson 4, the vanity of your holy silences. You tear down the wildness of the world, and then you have the nerve to rebrand your fear as holy dignity and pure silence.
This right here is your trap of vanity. You try to extinguish the dark heat in your blood, spinning these elaborate tales and noble justifications strictly to mask the unscripted animal force that you are simply too cowardly to name. You're terrified of that dark heat, so what do? You pretend you're a creature of pure, holy light. It is vanity of the absolute highest, most destructive order.
Dressing failures in the robes of a noble cause, becoming a wrecking ball to yourself while pretending to be a vessel of light. That is exactly you. You wrap your pathetic, fatal stagnation in the robes of nobility. But underneath all that, you are nothing but a wrecking ball. You're actively destroying your own potential, crushing your own internal magma, all while smiling your brittle porcelain smile and pretending you are out there saving the world. Well, the time for your little illusions is over. The verdict is in and the high judge approaches. In fact, he's at your gates right now. And guess what? You can't spreadsheet your way out of this one. You can't prune the high judge into a perfect glass cube. The time for logging breaths in your frozen counting house is done. So panic, my slumbering merchants, because your predictable peace is about to be shattered permanently.
And here's the kicker. The high judge brings no armies. He brings absolutely no physical weapons. He brings something infinitely more terrifying, the seventh solitude. This is the absolute abyss. It's the void where every single one of your comforting lies, your noble justifications, and that fragile porcelain reality of yours will be violently stripped away. You are going to be left with nothing but the raw, messy truth you spent your entire life trying to avoid.
Because the fire is coming regardless. Just look at the overwhelming, roaring glow of it breaking through the earth. That dark heat you tried so hard to extinguish, it's rising up to completely consume your manicured gardens. Your porcelain masks are going to melt into slag. Those precious merchant ledgers turn to ash in a fraction of a second. The fire absolutely does not care about your polished reputation.
So that leaves us with one final existential question to wrap up this explainer. Will you remain a victim of the collapse, just burning up in the counting house with your useless ledgers? Or will you finally shatter that porcelain mask, reach into the dark heat, and become the architect of a creative flame? You literally must build a forge from the very heat you've spent your life trying to bury. The choice is yours, but you better choose quickly, because the fire, it's already here.